Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Saturday, the 6th of Safar, 1444, corresponding with the English date, 3rd of September 2022. This Majlis took place after the Ishraaq Salat at the residence of Hazrat Wala in Wasiabad, Allahabad, UP, India. Hazrat Wala starts off this majlis with the ayat of the Quran Majid, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Thereafter, Hazrat Wala then goes on to say that we were with Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab in his last safar, where he was about to leave to go on his journey for Hajj. And at that time, many elite, khawas, ulama, and even family people had gathered there to meet him. At that time, Hazrat Wala took out his bayaz, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, his personal diary, and he said, read this out to the people, or he read it himself. And what was this mazmoon? The same ayat of the Quran Majid, and he said, practice on this. He emphasized tremendously so that you may become successful. Now, what is the crux, or what is the gist of this particular ayat of the Quran Majid? It is Tilka Darul Akhirah. This is the home of the Akhirat, the year after, which we shall appoint for those who do not desire pride on earth nor corruption. The best outcome shall be for the pious. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها من جاء بالحسنة فله خير منها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى الذين عملوا السيئات إلا ما كانوا يعملون. Whoever brings a good deed will receive better than that. Whoever brings a sin, the sinners will be punished only for what they did. Now Allah Ta'ala declares, Allah says, that this is the home of the year after, which we shall appoint for those righteous people who do not desire ulu on earth nor corruption. The best outcome shall be for the pious. Now it is incumbent on every person to submit before Allah's grandeur and to perpetually adopt humility. The more a person recognizes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more humble he should be. Hazrat Wala says that the worst of these maladies and ailments, these spiritual diseases, is that of pride and jealousy. Now these ash'ar thereafter he quotes that Kuze Adam nang darad as the hasad, that hasad will leave a person completely empty. Ba sa'adat jang darad as hasad, and you would start fighting with fortune. You would start fighting with those people who fortune has been allotted for them just because of this jealousy. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us in the hadith that jealousy will eat away the good deeds of a person, just how fire eats away dry wood. Allahu Akbar. Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Sahab used to say in this regard, hasad ki aag mein kyun jal rahe ho, kafe afsos kyun mal rahe ho. How is it, why is it that you are burning in the flames of jealousy? How come you rub your palms because of your palms in regret out of jealousy? And I find this so common today, even amongst the religious, the khawas, and the awam, the common masses, amongst the men, amongst the women as well. But it just doesn't stop there, brothers. Irada karega, tab jayega, that you have to make a niyat, you have to make an effort. Then these spiritual evils will leave us then. وَذَرُوا ظَاهِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَبَاطِنَ. Now Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb used to say that ghaflat, this negligence, we are negligent about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we become so involved in the dunya that we become negligent of the akhirah. This year is the mother of all sicknesses, Ummul Amrad. Now this parishani, this worry and gham and grief of this dunya, somebody's is because of their wife, someone else is because of their children, and many it is because of finance and because of wealth. Now in all of this parishani, this trials and tribulations in the dunya, with all of that we have to make tayyari and preparation for the akhirat. So Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to say, इस ज़माने में इस्लाह के लिए तलत्तुफ़ मुतअय्यन है. In this day and age, in this era for reformation, spiritual rehabilitation, compassion and kindness is definitely stipulated. It is stipulated. There's nothing other than that you should adopt. Talattuf, kindness, compassion, mercy. The person who has been given rifq, the hadith teaches us, he has most definitely been given a great treasure. You know, what can I say? These mazmoons, articles, it is actually from that booklet or the article prepared by Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab regarding Amr bil Maruf and Nahi Anil Munkar. In fact, just the other day, I was thinking about this year that even that risala should be taken out. So Allahu Akbar, this pride, this arrogance, when we say Allahu Akbar, and we say it so many times in our salat, we should understand that Allahu Akbaru min kulli shay. Allah is the greatest. He is greater than everything else. If there is anything that is worthy of us putting our attention to, then it is the Pak, Zat and sacred being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to speak, he was on that platform and that takht of irshad. And the great ulama, Hazrat Qari Tayyib Sahab, Maulana Mirajul Haq, all these great ulama used to come and sit. And in front of them, what would he say? He would quote those Farsi couplets, the meaning of which we reads that the more fruit there is on a branch, the more it will cause that branch of that particular tree to bow down. Similarly, the more ilm and knowledge a person has, it should bring nothing else in him other than that of himself bowing down, meaning complete and total humility. Allahu Akbar. So people who aspire to attain nobility in this world commit a great number of sins in realizing their aim. This nobility, this one that they want in this dunya, they is also a trend. They also tend, these people, they tend to perpetrate a great deal of injustice against others. Some even resort to violence and murder if they feel the need to. Despite their misguided efforts, they are depriving themselves of Jannah, and also fail to achieve the success and honor which is attained by those who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands. They merely thrive on the little power they possess, because of which people are terrified to speak against them. Now, you know, Ali radiyallahu ta'ala entered the Jami Masjid in Dimishq, in Basra. And when he entered, he found many people sitting on their platforms there, on their seats, and others were listening, halqas. And then he started scolding them, rather interrogating them, asking them that who had given you the permission to give waz. And then he comes across Al-Hasan al-Basri, and then he says to him the same thing. And he said, then I will take an interview of you, I will take your exam. Hasan al-Basri was very confident, and he says in answer to that, please do go ahead. And he asks him, what is the foundation of all good? He goes to answer then Al-Hasan al-Basri by saying, Al-Wara', it is piety. Ali radiallahu ta'ala an goes on to ask that what is the foundation of all evil? He says, it is tama' and it is greed. It is greed. So greed in this dunya will cause a person to do fasad in this dunya. Exactly what we are learning from this particular ayat. You know the ash'ar or these couplets, Ek zamana sohbat ba awliya behtar ibadat sad sala beriya. That a moment, just a moment in the companionship of the awliya is better than 100 years, many years of ibadat without ostentation. Now ulama went to great lengths in making tashri' of these couplets, so much so that they became tired. Someone said this and someone said that type of an interpretation. Some even mentioned that it is because the malaika throng around the gatherings of the awliya, due to which when a person comes and sit in those gatherings, and it is now the gathering of the malaika, due to which that becomes so meritorious that it will be greater than the ibadat of 100 years. But Hazrat Maulana Qamar Saheb is now saying that I am of this opinion, that it is better than the ibadat of 100 years of such ibadat which has no riya, this few moments in the gathering of the awliya. Why? My interpretation of all of this is that it is because a person humbles himself. He humbles himself in front of who? Someone who is just as human as he is. Meaning he lowers himself in front of someone who is just like him. Right? In that sense, so when he humbles himself in a manner like this, he does it only and solely so that he can gain closeness to Allah, he can gain nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this lowering oneself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so beloved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that most definitely we can say it is better than ibadat of 100 years without ostentation, riya and show. Allahu Akbar. Understand it from the hadith, that the hadith teaches us that ad-du'a'u mukhul ibadah, that dua is the essence of all ibadat. Why? Because in dua, a person lowers himself to such an extent that he opens his hands and begs from Allah as a beggar. Allahu Akbar. Due to which, the hadith says, the statement makes the statement that it is the essence of ibadat, because in ibadat, the most overpowering and salient feature should be that a person lowers himself and humbles himself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this jukna, this humbling oneself, is so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, warka'u ma'ar raki'in, that make ruku, bow down with all those who make ruku. Hazrat Tanwi rahmatullah alayh, when people used to come and meet him, he used to also prohibit them from bowing and bending, and he would say, no, that is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the virtue of humility and the abomination of pride. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the person who humbles himself for Allah, Allah will elevate him. He will consider himself small in his own estimation, but he will be high in people's esteem. Allahu Akbar. Allah will humiliate whoever is proud. He will consider himself to be great in his own estimation, but will be more degraded than a dog and a pig in the eyes of people. You know the dua that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us, Allahumma ja'alni fi ayni saghira wa fi a'yunin nasi kabira. Oh Allah, make me small in my own eyes, and let me be high in the eyes or in people's esteem. मैं तो नामो निशा मिटा बेटा शोहरा मेरा Uraya kisne? Hazrat Haji Sahib used to say that I humbled myself, I erased all my signs. I left no traces of myself, myself anywhere. I wonder who has made spread about this fame on my behalf. Hazrat Maulana Mohammad Ahmad Sahib make mulahaza of his ash'ar. He says that मैंने मिटाया अपना नामो निशा हफ्त इकलीम जिसने मिटाया अपना नामो निशा हफ्त इकलीम का बना सुल्तान. The person who humbled himself completely, totally, he has become then the king of all. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also mentioned that a person who has pride equal to even a mustard seed shall never enter Jannah. Allahu Akbar. The Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also mentioned that proud people will appear as small ants on the day of Qiyamah. They will be then be cast into a pit of Jahannam, and that then goes on to the end of that particular hadith. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانِ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ. We have created insan, and we even know what he's thinking, what thoughts are passing his mind and crossing his heart. Allahumma ja'al fi qalbi noora wa fi sam'i noora wa fi basari noora. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam makes dua that Allah Ta'ala infuses noor in every lump and every part of his entire body. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is sabak ko yaad kara de. Allah Ta'ala make us learn the sabak, today's sabak, and Allah Ta'ala make us also make amal on this particular sabak. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.